STEM education in Africa stands at the precipice. On one side lies the possibility of relevance, innovation, and leadership in the fourth industrial revolution. On the other side lies obsolescence. Our students will graduate into a world where artificial intelligence writes codes, where quantum computing solves problems we can barely formulate, where climate change demands solutions we haven't invented yet, and where, ladies and gentlemen, our divisions grow even strong. The question we are faced with is simple but admittedly brutal. Will our students be the architects of this future or its spectators? STEM is extremely important, and I don't have to remind us.
About a week ago, we announced the 2025 National Senior Certificate results, announcing the highest matric rate in the history of our country. It begins with the child learning to read with meaning and counting with confidence. I reminded South Africa that if we are serious about improving participation and performance in maths, science, and technology, then we must be equally serious about strengthening the foundational literacy and numeracy. And so to hear that there is a primary school that is performing very well attached to this university really warms my heart, VC, because it really responds to the call that we are making. It is lost when a learner reaches grade 4, unable to read fluently, or when basic number sense is never properly established in the early years of schooling. By the time learners are asked to choose subjects, many of them have already internalized the idea that mathematics is not for them. That belief, far more than ability, drives the flight from mathematics.
We need to partner, especially us as institutions of higher learning, and it can be done. When we talk about societal impact and sustainability, we leave that at UJ. I'll give you one quick example. There's a high school in Limpopo called Hanyanya High School. I don't know if you have heard about this school. Honorable Minister, this school was one of the worst performing schools in Limpopo. A few years ago, their matric pass rate was in the 50s. UJ partnered with this school. Together with a generous donor, we set up a learning center. There, even if you have data on your phone, there's no mobile internet connectivity. Together with a generous donor, we set up a learning center with satellite internet in a rural community. There's Wi-Fi connectivity on the school campus. At the end of that year, the school pass rate went up to 92.4, something around that, but above 90%. They stopped teaching science subjects. Our science professors went there, worked with teachers. I think around 15 students signed up. Our professors donated pure science equipment, and they had a 100% pass rate. 15 students passed. They started taking maths. 10 or so students, they passed. This year, their pass rate went to 94.2%. It shows that with partnership, things can happen. Now with floods, one thing that touched me is that now rescuers are now using that satellite internet to rescue people. Because even if you have your cell phone with data, you can't connect.
But partnership must not just be symbolic or about conferences. I want to challenge this conference to think deeply about how research findings travel beyond journals and conferences and make it into our policy frameworks, teacher training institutions, and ultimately into our classrooms. We need to be quite intentional about saying the work that comes from this body, how do we make sure that it finds expression not only in policy documents, but actually in the classroom one day in front of a child. It will be achieved through alignment between research and policy, between curriculum and classroom practice, between early learning and later success. And so let this conference be a space where difficult questions are asked, where evidence is interrogated, and where bold and grounded ideas emerge. The future mathematicians, scientists, and technologists of this country, and indeed our continent, are already sitting in our classrooms.
I leave you with the words of our great leader, Nelson Mandela, and I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world," close quote. Let the reimagining begin.